Hey there, everybody. I'm CCB Dolan here with CCB Rise, bringing you an excellent match. Your votes don't count versus Verge of Collapse. Verge of Collapse, of course, Alliance Tournament 10 champions. Your votes don't count. Strong team fighting their way through the losers bracket. Why don't you tell us a little bit about these setups?
Sure. So Verge bringing battleships, Vindicator, Balgorn, and then kind of a really aggressive Galente-based Frigwing, which is, I feel like, kind of standard for them. They've definitely mixed it up some in the tournament, but they like this kind of in-your-face brawl Galente-based setup. Your Votes Don't Count, on the other hand, has brought an even more in-your-face setup with Vigilance and Proteuses with an Oneros, and then kind of lighter support wing Crucifiers there for tracking disruption, which is actually a really good call against Verge, I think, providing some of that anti-turret E-War against Verge, who loves to bring turret battleships.
And making me really happy, none of them have warped to 0. But we're about to see, wow, Verge going for an instant dive on the logistics with a support wing, it looks like. Really strong power move to open up the match.
Yeah, that's incredibly aggressive. All right, let's see how they do. Those Vigilants actually are perfect for chewing up that support, but it looks like they're not going for it. They're actually instead going straight in for some of the heavier core of the Verge team. Going for the Balgorn, it looks like.
Yeah, that's
we'll have to see. Tracking disruption all over the place, mitigating a lot of that Verge damage, but as you can see, the support wing is now on that Your Votes Don't Count Oneros, so we'll have to see if he can tank any of that.
Yeah, they're a little bit slower on the draw to sort of dive in there to get the Your Votes Don't Count squishy backline, but like... Your Votes Don't Count hasn't assaulted the logistics. They've left the Guardian completely alone, choosing instead to go for the Balgorn. And if they trade Balgorn for logistics, I'm not sure that that's a really awesome trade.
I don't know. I think that would actually be okay for them. The problem is that I'm not sure they're going to be able to trade. Like, as you can see, the Balgorn is tanking relatively easily, while the Oneros for Your Votes Don't Count is getting crushed. So they if they could make the trade in even time, that might be fine, but it doesn't look like they're...
They switch primary, yeah. but that's too late.
They need to hurry up because their Oneros is hurting really bad. He's not going to be able to get out from under all those Inyos and Ishkars, so he will drop. And in the meantime, they have to make them pay for it. And whether that's through support or through their own logistics, it looks like now there's a web on that Guardian, so maybe they decided to switch and just go straight for the Logi. Let me see.
Yeah, they've switched onto the Logi, but I don't know how much of the Logi is like. You've spent so much time wasting it on the Balgorn. It's already back at full armor. They're already into going, like, Verge of Collapse is already into killing Your Votes Don't Count support wing. And meanwhile, they're just dealing with an AAR Guardian who's holding.
Yep, they are on the Guardian now. They're switching, but their switch was kind of sluggish. Like, as you were saying that they'd switch, there was actually no Your Votes Don't Count cruisers anywhere near the Guardian. They had him webbed, but they, like, took a while to get moved over there. They're closer now. But they're going to start being in trouble, too, because of being under the pressure of that Balgorn. You can see Newt's on all 3 Vigilants, and he can turn off guns, turn off micro-warps, turn off hardeners, and really make it hard for them to get the job done. You can see the web actually just dropped on the Guardian. Yeah. That's a really bad sign. That means Cap is bad, like bad shape for the Your Votes Don't Count team.
Reapplied. But I don't understand also, like, they're damping the Guardian right now when they're all sitting directly on top of the Guardian.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It might just be like someone has pressed all their F keys rapidly on that Guardian. But he's dropping low. And it looks like they've actually been able to stem the profuse bleeding in their team. They haven't lost a ship in quite some time. Your Votes Don't Count.
Yeah,
actually stabilized.
I was going to say, it's interesting that after the Oneros went down, they lost a frig or two, but they haven't actually been losing cruisers really fast. You would expect that their Vigilance would go down really quick after losing the Logi, and instead they're actually doing okay, and they are going to get this Guardian kill. So that's a really good sign for them. Probably that means the tracking disruptors are doing a really good job against that Vindicator, which is still making his way towards that fight, but it's taking a while. Now he's able to get close enough to kill a Vigilant.
Vigilant of Mordisca dropping for Your Votes Don't Count. Only really like 2 Proteus, 2 Vigilant left on the field here. They need to either get away from this Vindicator and Balgorn, which is going to be rough under Balgorn webs on Lauren Canada in the Vigilant, and kill support, or just switch to the Vindicator right now.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, they're going to go back to the Balgorn, it looks like, and that kind of makes sense because these ships can't function under the cap pressure or the web pressure, but I think it's going to take them a really long time to kill him, and in the meantime, they're going to trade a bunch of cruisers for it. So
by the time they're done, they're going to have like a Proteus left.
Yeah, maybe like, but the problem is they're stuck. Like, once they've committed to that Balgorn to begin with, the chances of them actually evacuating, like the chances of getting those cruisers out of there and moving them to something else, like some of the support, would have been just really difficult. They probably would have lost 2 cruisers while they were trying to do that. They're putting a lot of damage on the Balgorn. They'll probably finish him off, I would say, but they're going to be in real trouble after that. I mean, they just have so little left.
Well, here's the thing. So, like, let's say they pull in these frigs, they take down the Balgorn, they pull in the frigs just outside of Vindicator web range under like the protective umbrella of the Proteuses, and then like they manage to drop the Vindicator. They drop the Balgorn and the Vindicator before they lose the Proteus. Then they're relatively close on points. They're like 2 points apart. Maybe they pull out some sort of like, because I as an Enyo or a Hawk or an Ishkar, I don't want to brawl with a Proteus. Like I'm gonna get dropped by a Proteus.
Depending on the Eeyore situation, but yeah, it doesn't look like there's a lot of tracking disruption coming from the Verge side. So right, they probably I don't know, they'd probably do okay. In the meantime, I'm curious. It looks like some of almost the entire Verge Frigwing is there working on that Proteus. So they're just not going to worry about putting any energy into taking out the rest of those Crucifiers and the Algos and Merlin. They're just not very worried about the effect they're having.
Except for the Crucifier that they're killing. But the other Crucifier. And God's Cold Blood is dropping. Like, I think that the match was decided when they didn't pop the Guardian immediately. They wasted a ton of time on a Balgorn that was catching reps.
Yep. Yeah,
Like,
those decisions have such a big impact. Like those first target calls. There's matches that go the other way, of course, too, where they spend a lot of effort chasing a Logi and get picked apart while they're doing that, and then the Logi survives, and you're like, oh, you should have burned down some DPS to begin with. But you're right. I think they committed so much time to the Balgorn, which was just a really difficult target for them to break.
And the Balgorn is one of those ships that can be nearly fully effective with no damage mods in the lows.
Right.
You can just
he'll
put
have a
nothing
really
in the
heavy
lows
tank.
but brick.
Yep.
And like and just rely on your newts and your webs to do all the utility that you need. But like
They are going to finish that Balgorn off, but by now it's just not going to matter, most likely.
now it's Proteus versus Vindicator.
Yeah.
Plus a bunch of frig support for the Vindicator. Like there's no coming back from this. The points war tells the story here. It's 13 versus 71.
Yeah.
Like it's basically game over. But Verge of Collapse, strong performance. I actually, we heard in the studio before that people were really excited to see them bring the Atanas. But
Yeah.
Verge of Collapse in every single one of their matches, because I checked this time, has not brought anything but armor the whole tournament. No shield setups from them. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're like saving it in their back pocket for a big best of 3 to flip to some shield that nobody's expecting with Atanas.
Could be.
But I don't know if they're just decided like,
Yeah, this feels like a really standard Verge setup. I think last year was really similar. They loved to bring Vindicators, Cronoses, Navy Megas with a strong like Enyo Ishkar support wing like this. This is very kind of comfortable for them. It seems to be what they like to do. And they mix it up. The setups are not the same every match, but the kind of archetype stays pretty consistent. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. You would sort of think that if they had that back pocket shield setup to throw everybody off, it would have happened this match, but looks like they just feel good staying with this setup. And actually, it's really interesting because I thought your votes don't count brought a really solid counter.
yeah.
With all the tracking disruption and smaller ships, I thought this actually was a pretty good solution for it. But maybe just the bad target call at the start cost them the match.
Yeah, I think so.
And they actually don't even manage to finish off that Balgorn.
Yeah, that's rough. Like, at least you could walk away with the kill. I'll be like, at least we killed that Balgorn, guys.
So really, really strong performance from Verge there, taking out your votes don't count, exiting the tournament. Verge moving on to fight the Initiative later today. So we'll send it back to the studio and see you guys in a few.